The No Nonsense Roundtable. It's a weekly show broadcast on Rochester, New York's 50,000-watt iHeart radio station, News Radio Wham 1180. The host, Dom Genova, interviews guests from all walks of life, all with amazing stories to tell. What you are about to hear is a recording of a previous broadcast without the breaks and commercials. Now, here's host Dom Genova.
Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the No Nonsense Roundtable. I'm Dom Genova, your host, every Saturday right here on News Radio Wham 1180. 50,000 watt News Radio Wham 1180. It goes all the way to the place of the fella I'm talking to right now. His name is Del, and last name is Reid, right? Del Reid, is that it?
That's me.
That's Del Reid. And Del Reid, if there are people you know and you want to know more about and people you don't know, Del is probably one of those guys that people that are really big Bills fans know about. Maybe you don't because you might not be interested in football, but he is, I would say you could be called the founder of the Bills Mafia. Is that right?
I know I normally roll with co-founder just because there was a few of us at the beginning of all this, but sure.
Okay, well, let's mention those couple of other people because they deserve some credit too. Let's get their name on the air. Why don't you tell me a couple of the other people you're talking about?
Sure, yeah. So since the whole Bills Mafia, I guess, inception in 2011, I've pretty much run a lot of the efforts alongside Breon Harris and Leslie Willie.
Well, the thing about it is that it is so unique. I have a really great relationship with Scott Petoniak. He's a nationally known sports writer, very famous here in Rochester. He has written, I think, 35 books. And I was talking to him, and I interviewed him a couple of weeks ago, Del, and I said, is this thing with the Bills Mafia, is that common in the NFL? Is that something that generally speaking, other teams across the country have these support groups like this? He goes, no. He says the Bills Mafia is something that is unique. Says they have a wonderful way about them. They're doing good for people. Some of the stuff they do is kind of a little tongue in cheek, makes you laugh, but it's always helping other people. And that's what I want to get into today because it's really a great human story about people doing things for other people. So how did this whole thing get started? Was it you sitting around having a beer someplace, or how the conversation first start?
I don't know how it first started. Bree and Leslie and several others and we all kind of met each other through social media, through Twitter back in 2010, 2009, maybe even as early as that. I don't remember, but we've always kind of just we always knew each other as fellow Bills fans. Leslie lives down in Dunkirk, Fredonia. Breon lives in the Virginia Beach area. But, when it comes to your phone, it doesn't matter where anybody is.
Yeah.
You can talk to them through social media. So, they and a few others, we got to know each other over a couple seasons, basically complaining about the Bills because that was the height of the drought, but we never stopped loving the team. We were there every game, before or after, during the week, talking about all the different, signings and whatever's going on in the off season. And in 2010, Stevie Johnson dropped a pass in overtime from Ryan Fitzpatrick against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Bills would have won that game. And in contrast, when you think about it, the Bills started that season 0-8, worst, I think, beginning of a season during the drought that they had. And the Steelers were perennial playoff / Super Bowl contenders. So to push this team to overtime was insane. Had the win literally right there in his hands, and Stevie dropped the ball. That night he went on Twitter and basically questioned God, questioned his faith, and really was going through it. And Bills fans, being the supportive bunch that we are, rallied around him and said, hey, keep your head up. And just a week prior, he had scored 3 touchdowns against the Cincinnati Bengals in a come from behind win. So we knew we had something special in that player. But so, Bills fans are, like I said, rallying around him. And then you go to the next day and Adam Schefter retweets Stevie's God tweet, which in Twitter time is a year later. So we kind of, being the oversensitive bunch that we are as Bills fans. We started to rag on Adam Schefter. The irony is that Adam Schefter, for those that don't follow the NFL closely, no NFL news gets released to the public unless it's through him. Typically, it's him and maybe like one or two other insiders. Majority goes through Adam Schefter. So it was just it was a funny coincidence that here he is retweeting this old tweet, like I said, and we're so much later, and he's supposed to be breaking news, not old news. So Breon coined a term, Schefter breaking news, and we were tweeting that and teasing at him. And I always say, I promise we weren't being like super nasty. We weren't. Right. Nobody was cussing at him, swearing. It was all, tongue in cheek humor and stuff. And ended up blocking a bunch of us. To my knowledge, that was the first time I'd ever been blocked by somebody on Twitter. So you fast forward now to April of 2011, and Twitter used to have this tradition called Follow Friday, where you would recommend people you follow to the people that follow you. And so I mentioned, the 5 or 6 of us, whatever it was, that got blocked by Adam, and I said, follow the Bills Mafia. And that was it. I wasn't trying to start anything. I wasn't trying to name the fan base. I wasn't trying to start a movement, anything like that. But over the next couple months, but I kind of did. So over the next couple months, it just started to grow viral, and fans started using it, and then players started using it, and then the media started using it, and then fast forward all the way to 2020, and the team actually adopted it as the name of the fan base. Well, so that's the story in a nutshell.
That's a great story. Well, a lot of times we have unintended consequences in life. I mean, bail reform and all this other stuff. That is actually a good unintended consequence. I mean, that's not what you didn't try to start a movement, but you started a movement nonetheless, which makes it a really fun story. Let me ask you a real obvious question. Okay, the word mafia. Who thought of the word mafia, and did you get any pushback from that initially at all? Because at one time, I mean, back in the 60s, that would not have a lighthearted connotation like it has now.
Yeah, so I came up with that. It was a joke. Like I said, it was a tweet that I made. It was going to be a one-off tweet, and that was the end of it. I didn't put a lot of thought into it. And there has been some pushback over the years. Not a lot at first, believe it or not. And I could count the number of times that somebody has actually said something to me or in my direction. Yeah. But I think, and I always say, if I was trying to do what we've effectively done, I wouldn't have used the name Bills Mafia, because I wouldn't have used the team name in it, because that's a trademark term. And I wouldn't have used the term Mafia because it's got an edge to it. But I think that's why people like it. Yeah. You can't just call it Buffalo football fans. Yay, hashtag Buffalo football fans. Nobody cares. And I always tease, I married into an Italian family. I always say that I've helped create 2 young Italians, so I have some skin in the game there.
Well, yeah, we have that in common. But, it's sort of, we're about ready to head into a break. But, it's sort of like we have Gary the Happy Pirate. He's a pirate. Pirates by their nature are not really nice people. You have Pirates of the Caribbean. Those are really not nice people, but we made it into a nice thing. Sort of like this mafia thing. It's really cool. What a great story that is. And like I said, we're going to head into a break, and we're going to go into more of all these things after this break. This is Dom. You may have noticed that this year I have section sponsors. Rather than having one big sponsor to pay for the show, I've broken it down to 4 section sponsors. Businesses that I can recommend myself and may not need or desire a huge investment in advertising. It's neat. I can give exposure to more businesses, and they get a chance to talk to you, 12,000 listeners. If you hear me personally voice an ad, that means I personally believe in the company. Please do business with them. Is it a short scoot or a hop, skip, and a jump to Fanatics Pub and Blue Stage in Lima? Go 10 minutes south of Marketplace Mall to exit 10, Route 390. Take a left 2 lights more, and you're right in front of Jim Shelley's place, Fanatics Pub. Tonight he has a Bob Dylan tribute show. April 6th, it's the band Grosh. And come by after the eclipse on April 8th for a show with Steve West, 3:30 to 6:30. Here's some music, get a bite, and why fight the traffic home? Fanatics in Lima. Well, welcome, everybody. You're back listening to the No Nonsense Roundtable. I'm Dom Genova, your host every Saturday, as you know, and we're here with Del Reid, who is one of the founders and graciously mentions his co-founders in the last section. And we were talking about the Bills Mafia and how that got started and the name Mafia. And from that, so you all met, you get the impression that you were all like local guys. This happened and people were not necessarily, I mean, one guy was in, what'd you say, in Virginia someplace? Or
Yeah.
Wow, that's pretty.
Yeah, Virginia.
That's pretty cool. I mean, so this virtual atmosphere that you worked in with the Twitter or whatever it was that that led to this, which is kind of cool. But let me ask you a question: how often do you guys actually get together for these games?
I don't know if we get together for games too often.
Really?
I mean, I see Leslie a lot, because she's local and has seasons like me. But Reid is able to get up for maybe a game or two every season or two. But we see each other enough throughout the year. Probably, I'd say 3-4 times a year, we're able to cross paths and hang out. And it's wild. Like after 13 years, 14 years now, like they're family. I always joke if Bree or Leslie, if we saw them a little bit more often and my kids were a little bit younger when we met them, they probably would have been Aunt Leslie and Uncle Bree. That's true. I had 3 sets of grandparents because Mr. and Mrs. Caggiano next door, they were grandma and grandpa too, and people couldn't understand why I had 3 grandparents. Now, the thing about this seems to me, as a former person who had a lot of people working for him, that you need. Do you have people that are like different departments that are doing these things, or just like 3 of you getting together and you're deciding that you're going to do these things? How do you make a decision to make a come with one of the charitable things that you do? Just pick one. I mean, one of the things that you've done that's probably the first one or the second one, that the one that you got together and you said, we're going to do this for this. I mean, how did you come to that conclusion? How do you make the decision? Well, first of all, when it first began in 2011, we had the idea to maybe sell T-shirts and stuff. But what was so great about Bree and Leslie was that the 3 of us were all in agreement. As soon as we started doing this, we did not want to take any money from it. We didn't, all this Bills Mafia stuff. We were just having fun, getting to know other fans and tweeting back and forth with players and stuff like that was enough. We were all gainfully employed, So we decided, to have any proceeds we made from those early merchandise sales, we can go to Roswell Park, which is the local cancer institute here in Buffalo. I actually worked for them at the time. So it was a no-brainer that we wanted to use these new powers for good.
Powers.
We wanted to support the community.
Good powers for good, not evil. I love it.
Yeah, exactly. I should say that pretty often. So, and now, 13 years later, Bills Mafia it's not like some official organization. We did have a nonprofit for a little while as we were organizing fundraiser tailgates and stuff. But Bills Mafia has grown now to the point where it's owned by all the fans. And a lot of these fundraising efforts that you see going on social media, or maybe see them on the news, like Bills Mafia,
well, you become an entity.
Sorry, I had a brain fart there. You see all these things going on in the news. Bills Mafia is doing this. Bills Mafia is raising money for that. That's just often other fans who are moved to do something because of something they saw or something that happened on the field. It's like Lamar Jackson in the playoffs a couple of years ago, leaves the game because of a concussion. A Bills fan had the idea to raise money for a charity in Louisville that he supported back when he played college there, and we raised a ton of money. So it's something where, people think that I'm the one who's making these decisions, or there's a brain trust that's handling it. It really is just the fan base as a whole, which makes it so much more special, that it's just the fans in general. Fan base as a whole is deciding to do these things. And, if I see something going on, I'll give it I'll give it a boost on social media. I'll share it or whatever. But often the inception, the credit for these different fundraising efforts over the past several years, that just goes to, credit to, Bill's fandom.
So what you did is you created a movement You didn't intend on creating a movement, but nonetheless, you created a movement. But the thing that really it kind of fascinates me in such a delightful way is that this everybody's sort of the like mind. I mean, what stadium do they have a poster? Maybe it was at I saw it at Madison Square Garden. Get rid of the owner. How are you going to get rid of the owner? I mean, and that's so negative. And I mean, it's like, what? I mean, it doesn't make any sense. You're venting your anger, but you're not really doing anything. And the Bills Mafia, it is supportive. It has this great vibe to it, and you're actually doing something. Now, wasn't there a case there once where a ref blew a call and you did something about eyesight or eyeglasses or something?
Yeah, so it was the Bills were playing the Buccaneers. I think it was December 21. And I remember I was so heated after that game because I didn't even remember what the call was, but it was something or a non-call or something where it was so obvious. And it felt like they were handing yet another game to Tom Brady. It was just so frustrating. And I don't know who did it originally, but there was a Bills fan on Twitter who donated to I think it's called Via Western New York, the Vision Impairment Association of Western New York or something like that. And it just took off. And I thought that was fantastic. So there often is like a tongue-in-cheekness to it. So good things happen, and Bills fans, Bills Mafia will donate to a cause.
Well, and
good things happen, bad things happen, doesn't matter. Like it's always a reason just to make a difference in the community in the name of how much we love our team and how much we love the community it represents.
Well, I mean, it takes a lot more creativity to have some humor and skewer somebody rather than just be mean. I mean, you could be mean, but you're not going to communicate all that well. If you're doing sort of what you're doing here, and it gets more attention too because it's so rare these days.
Yeah, I guess it is. It's more likely to be covered on the news if you raised however many $1,000 for people who are helping others with no eyesight or lack of eyesight or poor eyesight than it is if somebody went on Twitter and yelled. So it's much better.
Well, yelling at people is a very poor way of getting them to love you. I found that out the hard way. So let me throw a couple of things at you. Maybe these are well, it's not a football term; it's a baseball term. Let me throw a curveball at you. OJ.
Yeah. What about him?
Well, yeah, but that reminds me of a Yogi Berra story. I got to tell you because this is so funny. So I guess it was whatever his Buck, the sportscaster goes, we're going to do some word association. Yogi says, okay. He says, okay. He goes, Lou Gehrig, and then Yogi responds, what about him? Okay. We'll do a little word. I'm going to mention a word to you.
Sure.
And you tell me about it. 26 shirts. Tell me about 26 shirts.
Yeah. So a couple of years into the Bills Mafia endeavor, it was 2013. I had this idea that I could sell a different shirt every week for 2 weeks and support a different family in the area, because as our social media presence grew, more and more people were reaching out saying, hey, can you share this? Can you share that? And I was just becoming a lot more familiar with just the needs in our area, specific needs. And I wanted to be able to do something more than just sharing somebody's GoFundMe or something like that. And I eventually had this idea because even in the height of the drought, 2013, we're Bills fans. We're still merch crazy. We always want to rep our team. It doesn't matter if they're undefeated or they didn't win a game. It doesn't matter. We want to rep our team. We're proud of our team. And so thought I would do a 1-year project, sell 26 different designs over the span of a year. And I'm now into the 11th year of that 1-year project.
So what's the most popular thing that you sell? And you know what? Let's do a little retail. Let's tell people how to get to your site to look at this stuff.
Yeah, 26shirts.com. We launch, it used to be every 2 weeks. Now it feels like it's every 2 days. We're just coming up with more designs. Everything you buy from our site is going to support a local family or nonprofit. 10 plus years we've been doing it now, and we're at $1.9 million we've been able to donate back into the community through our sales.
Man, that's admirable. We'll be right back after this. Well, you heard the news. Well, now for the sports. Well, one sport. The Red Wings are in town this week. Opening day is Tuesday, April 2nd. The first 1,500 fans get winter mittens. Get your tickets now at redwingsbaseball.com. Now, let me ask you a question. What do you do for a living?
26 shirts.
Really? That's your entire thing? Really? Very good.
Yep. So in 2015, after doing it for a couple of years, I got laid off from my job and had the opportunity to post for another position there because of the union and everything. And really felt like I had been driving to the wrong building every day. So with my wife's support, I just stepped out and decided to give this a try. And we gave ourselves a year. Like if in a year it becomes obvious this isn't going to work, then I'll go back to being a web developer or whatever. So within 6 months, I had to hire somebody. And then it felt like every year and a half, I had to hire somebody else. And now we're at 5 full-time employees.
Wow.
And so it's not just my full-time job. There's 6 of us doing it.
Well, that's really cool. It's like my story. I used to work for Chrysler for 17 years before I sold everything I had, and my wife and I started a business. And now we ended up okay. But you have to make a decision in life. What are you going to do? Are you going to stay in this job that you don't like? You don't like the atmosphere. You're going to kind of put up with it. You're going to get up and do something yourself. So you got up and did something yourself. What's the most fun of this Bills Mafia thing that you do? I mean, what do you get to really charge out of? Is it coming up with a new idea, or when the new idea starts making the money, or the players? You have to have a relationship with the players, I would think, right?
Yeah, with some of them. Yeah. So 26 Shirts has really taken over, my life full time. The Bills Mafia thing is kind of, I don't want to say faded into the background, but it's grown to the point now where it belongs to everybody, belongs to the team. And I'm kind of known as the guy who helped start it. But 26 Shirts is my full-time attention vocation. I would say the best part is helping the families that we help. These are real families with real needs in the community that we're able to raise money for. So it's huge honor, privilege, and responsibility to do this for them. In terms of the fun part, it's absolutely the creative process. I'm not very artistic. I just love T-shirts. I just love graphic tees. But we've got 2 great artists on staff. We have everybody on our team is creative. So even though we have 2 people that help bring it to life, all of us come up with ideas. And sometimes one person will have an idea, and then someone else will kind of riff on that, and then a third person will help nail it down. It really is a collaborative, creative environment we have here. And I'm super grateful for everybody that has chosen to come alongside and work with me full time.
So let's talk about some personalities at the Bills. I mean, you have to have come across and at least shook hands with a bunch of people. I mean, who have you seen? You got a story about somebody who's done something really great, or something really stupid, or something really, some person you thought was great. You know what people like? People like stories of people that are really humble and really great, and then people that are really bad. I mean, just give me some idea of somebody that you met that surprised you.
Well, I mean, growing up during the Super Bowl era, watching the entire career of Jim Kelly, Thurman Thomas, Andre Reid, Bruce Smith, all those guys, having had the opportunity now to meet them has been awesome. I think the coolest experience that I had was a year or 2 into the 26 Shirts thing. Thurman Thomas said he would do a shirt with us, and actually had us out to his house and model the shirts and everything. So getting to hang out with him and his wife, Patty, and just, it's kind of weird. You're on, Thurman Thomas's property taking pictures of him, and they're not going to call the cops. They invited you to do it. So it's that for me, Thurman Thomas is, obviously, like so many people, one of my all-time favorite players. I think that Bills fans today that didn't grow up watching those Super Bowl teams, I don't think they realize how good a player Thurman Thomas was. So being able to meet him and work with him, and now and then see him in public, and he says, "Hey, Dell," I'm like, "Oh my gosh, he knows my name." So that's kind of cool. Yeah. So that's been, I think, one of the coolest things that have happened through all this.
Well, it seems like the team has a personality. I liken it back to probably, it was before my time, but the Dodgers in Brooklyn. I mean, it was the people in Brooklyn identify with the Dodgers. I mean, when they moved to California, it broke hearts because it was our bums. They were bums, but they were our bums. The bums did this, and wait till next year and whatever. And it's, sort of that thing where some teams. They used to say about the Yankees, during the Mickey Mantle days that, you rooting for the Yankees was like rooting for U.S. Steel, would be like, rooting for, it's like rooting for Amazon now. I mean, okay. But the Bills seem to have a personality, which this Mafia thing really kind of supports it and enhances. I mean, you look at Josh, and Josh seems like somebody that you want to have a beer with. It just has that certain quality about him that he's just relatable. Mahomes has the same thing, but not everybody does. I mean, some people look at Brady. I mean, how many people love Brady? How many people just absolutely hated Brady, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, in terms of Josh Allen, I think even though he's from Northern California, he is the most Buffalo quarterback I feel like we were ever going to get. He understands the city. He vibes with the city. He understands the fans. We waited a long time for him after Jim Kelly retired, and we flirted a few times with some successful quarterbacks, whether it was Doug Flutie or even Ryan Fitzpatrick or whomever along the way. But we waited a long time for the real deal with Josh Allen, and he was so worth it. Worth it.
I think it's kind of ingrained in the organization. Now, I'll tell you a story for years and years ago. When I was a Chrysler dealer, Marv Levy was at one of our fairs as a guest speaker. It was in Syracuse, and he meets my wife Nita at the beginning, right? And Nita and he have a conversation and whatever, and then he comes in after the dinner. He sees her again. He goes, "Oh, Nita, how'd you like the dinner?" He remembered her name. I'm Marv Levy. It's like, holy God, this guy. I mean. I met Reggie Jackson once or twice. You get that from Reggie Jackson. Reggie Jackson is, a horrible human being. Yeah, he really is. He's a horrible human being, and I don't care if he says that because I don't have any money for him to sue me with. But you get these guys that actually care and they actually get it. And Josh seems like that type of guy. He gets it. He cares. He's not going to blow you off if he sees you at a bar and you say hello to him. That type of. At least that's the impression that he gives. Now let me ask you another question. Of all the things that you've done, I know the thing with Lamar and all this other thing. What was the most successful financially for the public in like gross revenue for a contribution?
Well, I don't want to take credit for you. Say all the things that you've done. I'm going to just assume you mean Bill's Mafia because this is, like I said, growing so much bigger than me. But the answer to that would probably be when people started donating to Oshai Children's Hospital in honor memory of Josh Allen's grandmother, Patricia Allen. I believe they raised well over $1 million, and that continues to this day. The fundraising efforts, and it's really just pushed forward, a lot of the efforts that OCH has been able to do for children.
Well, and one of the things I'm learning from this interview, which is, and correct me if I'm wrong, you have your 26 shirts, which supports different families and whatever. And the Bills Mafia is not like a company or an organization. It's just an association of like-minded people. Is that what you're saying to me?
Yeah. We're not, like I said, early on, we had a nonprofit that covered our tailgates and everything, just so that we were above board and we weren't running money through personal accounts and everything. But Bills Mafia is just the name of the fan base. We are not like some like true incorporated supporter group, that you might see in, like, say, English soccer or something like that. Right. We're really, it's the name of the fan base, and it's the culture of the fan base. And that's what makes it so great, is that it's not dependent upon one person. I could get, God forbid, I could get by a truck tomorrow. Bills Mafia doesn't stop. It doesn't, it's going to be around forever because it's the ingrained culture. Yeah. Something happens every single time. Yeah. Whether it's a signing in the off season or somebody gets cut or something good happens or something bad happens on the field during the season. And the first thing that happens is somebody's on Twitter saying, who are we donating to? It's just, it's something I'm so proud of to just be a part of, is this giving mindset that the fan base has. I'm so proud to be a part of that.
That is just great. Now, did you ever think of maybe taking over Congress? I mean, if you did that, I mean, if everybody acted like this, and you actually, maybe you can
we were like-minded. I think you missed that point. We were like-minded.
yeah. If you could actually
find that in
Congress. I mean, I'm not blowing smoke at you, but if you could actually have this attitude and run the country, we wouldn't have these problems. For God's sakes, everybody getting together with a shared idea to do good for other people. How weird is this? I mean, jeez. Yeah. I mean,
it's a foreign concept, right? A baby is born, the first thing it wants to do is say mine. So it's definitely a foreign concept.
I know.
Made it work.
Yeah, well, I used that Beatles song, "I Me Mine." Yeah, that's it. My God, it's just a wonderful thing. And the story, this is a typical, no nonsense roundtable story. Like, who knew? Who knew this? Yeah, that is great. We'll be right back to talk more after this. This is Dom from our good friends at McClurg Auto Group in Perry. I called on probably 450 dealers when I was a Chrysler rep. I was always impressed with dealerships where the dealer himself cared about his customers, gave you a great deal, and was there if you needed him. John McClurg is one of those guys. You're closer than you think to a great no-nonsense deal. It's right in front of you. McClurgChevy.com or McClurg-ChryslerDodgeJeep.com. Visit them today. So the 26 shirts thing, now the website is, let me hear that again.
26shirts.com.
That's I throw you softballs, 26.
Yeah, that's fine. I'll take them.
Oh yeah, of course, because
I'll swing.
Yeah, there you go. Absolutely. Well, you're doing good things for other people. So, let me ask you another thing. I mean, are you a season ticket holder? I mean, obviously you live here, sort of locally. I mean, season ticket holder. What do you think of the new stadium? The whole idea and the concept and everything.
I'm excited to see it. It's something that's a long time coming. I know a lot of people have opinions, excuse me, about dome or no dome, or more so like the cost. But I was tweeting about this 10 years ago when the Pagulas bought the team. I said, all right, Buffalo, you got your NFL, you're an NFL city now. You got your team for the long term. What comes along with that, right?
Yeah.
This is part, you want to play in the literal big leagues, you need to have a big league stadium. And that's just part and parcel with having an NFL team. It doesn't change. So if you have an issue with it, well then, I mean, I don't think you thought that through when you were so excited that the team was staying when the bought it. So it just is what it is for me. It is what it is.
Well, it certainly put
having an NFL team.
It certainly put Buffalo on the map. I often question the naming rights for anything. I don't know how much you're getting for a naming right if that does. And sometimes the companies that and I won't mention I won't mention anybody in particular, but they name the stadium, but they're not doing any retail. It's like you're naming a stadium, and I understand you got a lot of money, whatever you name a stadium. But the thing about a stadium, at least as far as I'm concerned, is that I don't like it when they move it. They were talking about moving it downtown Rochester or something. It's like Yankee Stadium. Yankee Stadium should be where Yankee Stadium pretty much was, rather than moving it someplace. Where now it's a whole different atmosphere and a whole different a place to go. And the thing about the dome, no dome, I don't know. Football should make you suffer. This is one of those things. So the other question that I need to ask you is, of all the players there, I mean, do you have somebody that you consider like a hero of the Bills players?
A hero. Okay, yeah. So that's a touchy, not touchy, but that's a delicate subject, because just because somebody is good at football, are good at a sport, doesn't mean they should be a hero. So, I mean, the people that, I'm not throwing shade to any current player, but in terms of like a hero, I mean, I have a lot of love for Reid Ferguson, the work that he does for veterans, Deion Dawkins, two-time Walter Payton Man of the Year for the Buffalo Bills. There's a lot of work in the community. So those are the players that I think are the ones that, if you're going to use that word hero, I think that's the template for that. So like Jim Kelly and Jill Kelly, what they've done with Hunter's Hope for the newborn screenings and everything. Yeah. I mean, that stuff's important.
I got to tell you, Del, I was suspecting I was going to get that answer. I was I was suspecting I was going to get an answer from you, a genuine answer saying, because this is what I feel about the you guys of the Bills Mafia. Yeah, it's a game. It's a game. I mean, just because somebody hits 3 home runs in the 6th inning of the 1977 World Series, Reggie Jackson, doesn't mean that you are a role model for somebody. Your role model, athletically, your heroes were people who have contributed to society, use their fortune and fame for the good of somebody else. And, it's like I always say, there is the Jackie Robinson quote, life has little meaning except for the effect it has on other lives. And that's the real stuff. When you say somebody's a hero, well, that's the hero. The guy that has the best score, is not necessarily a hero. So that's consistent with the brand that you have created, you and your co-founders, with the Bills Mafia. It's a brand. It's not a brand based on just performance.
Yeah, there's something to be said because a lot of athletic ability is God given, and just you're born with it or you're not. And there's something to be said for someone who is able to work their entire lives and continue to hone their craft and get better and better, and that work ethic. And that's something I would stress to my kids. I would say, like, hey, you know how many people are born with NFL ability that never make it to the NFL because they don't have the work ethic, because they don't put the work in. So there's something to be said for that. But like I said, hero is a much bigger word than even like role model in terms of like work ethic when it comes to something like that.
Well, yeah, I have this expression, people on the radio here, not everybody that plays the piano can make music. Yeah, there's a very, 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 very few people that can be an NFL quarterback. However, there are people that are NFL quarterbacks. So God has given that talent to somebody, but he hasn't given it to very many people at all. So as far as your children are concerned, you encourage them to do something that they have a talent or a passion for. They also have to work, but it's very rare. It's very rare that you can actually play that position that you want to play.
Right, for sure. And I wasn't even I was using that as an example, like the athlete, but not that I was even speaking in athlete terms with my kids. Just more like you might have a propensity to do well in tests or whatever, but if you don't study, you might be the smartest kid or the brightest kid. If you don't study, you're going to fail the test. Right. Way too far down that metaphor path.
Well, there's a fellow I interviewed a while back. He just is getting inducted in the Rochester Music Hall of Fame. His name is Scott Mayo, and Scott Mayo says that he says I practice and practice and practice and practice. He says you have to work. He says, and what happens a lot of times to the kids that think that they have talent and they don't want to work, where they're not going to be successful. And you know what? One of the most important things at working at and being successful at is,
what's that?
26 shirts.
Yeah, they do a lot of
work
into this.
They do a lot of good work for a lot of good people, and you can get them on 26shirts.com. You see, I know how to butter up a guest. No fooling your hair, okay?
No, it's good. That's good. Appreciate that.
Yeah, and like I said, we're talking like 12,000 people. We're about ready to wrap this up in a couple of minutes or so. I'm just going to turn the mic over to you for a little bit. What do you want to leave our people here in Rochester with as a thought about Bills Mafia, 26 shirts, whatever? I'm just going to turn it over to you.
Well, I guess I would just say that, 26 shirts, the 10 plus years we've existed, raising almost $2 million now. I always say that we get a lot of credit for other people's generosity, because we could put all the different, designs and artwork out there on the internet that we want to, but if people don't buy the shirts, if they don't believe in our mission, nothing happens. And so I don't even like calling the people that purchase shirts from us customers, because it feels like they're more like they're partners, or I still haven't found the right word yet after all these years, but it's truly a team effort. And obviously the same thing with Bills Mafia. It's something that's a point I'm always happy to correct in interviews like this, is that it is not, none of this is the Del Reid show. It is our community. It's our fellow fans who are making the difference in people's lives. And that's what it comes down to. I think you just said it a moment ago with the Jackie Robinson quote. Like, how accurate is that, So
yeah. I'm looking at 26. This is really creative stuff. This is fun. This is fun stuff.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, happy little touchdown and jaw-ish. Oh, this is fun. Now these ideas and these come out of your head, or you got a graphic designer?
Oh, it's a team effort.
Really?
It's a team effort. Yeah. Oh, for sure. Like, and we'll have fellow fans that will suggest stuff, and there's now and then a freelance artist will contribute work to us. But it's truly a team effort. I've been doing this for 10 plus years. I'm out of ideas. Like I need my team to help me with different concepts and ideas. But it's truly a team effort. Like I said a moment ago, it is not the Del Reid show. I'm just happy to. I always joke the reason I'm in charge is because I thought of it first. So I thought of this idea first, so I get to be in charge.
No, it's good. Hey, Del, it's been delightful talking to you. God bless you for what you do. You're a good guy. What I suspected about the Bills Mafia and the way you guys operate and your commitment to the community, my instincts were borne out after talking to you, which is really great, and I appreciate you being on the show. And also, I really would like to meet you sometime. And like I said, God bless you for what you do. It's delightful, it's fun, and it's worthwhile. And we're all, you know what? The place is a little better off for the Bills Mafia being here.
Thanks, Tom. I really appreciate the invite, and maybe we can run into each other sometime during training camp or whatever this year. Who knows?
Maybe we can exchange T-shirts.
There you go. I'll come home with my middle finger lake, and my wife will be like, "What is that?
What is that?" So. All right, buddy. Everybody, next week, same time, same place, 10 o'clock right here on News Radio Wham 1180 is the No Nonsense Roundtable.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and we'll make more.